This is TWiT.
Yesterday we talked on Tech News Today, we were talking to the person, Kashmir Hill at Forbes, who broke the story that, in fact, when they, in 2012, when they actually tested the feature to see if they can make people sad or happy based on what, they're tweaking their feeds, that they didn't actually have explicit language in the terms of service talking about research and the sorts of things that they, in fact, did. Facebook countered to that, saying, oh, it's all about improving the service. That's what it was all about. That's always been in terms of service. So that's one problematic aspect to this. But to me, this is an example of Facebook so, and probably Google too, which is, they're so used to messing around and determining what we see and what we don't see, that the reasons for doing that are not as important to them as it probably is to the public. I mean, it's just like, to actually affect people's moods. I mean, Gina, do you use Facebook at all?
I do use Facebook, and I thought about this a lot. And my first gut reaction, I'm sad to admit, was very much the sort of, well, it made me sad. I kind of took this technologist view where I was like, well, companies A/B test things all the time, right?
Exactly.
Like so many products are constantly tweaking. Google does this. I mean, everything is run on an algorithm. Everything is data-driven based on reactions and clicks, and everything is being adjusted. So it didn't surprise me at all that Facebook did this. I was a little surprised at the outcry about the ethics of it. I suppose the idea that users should have been informed in a more explicit way makes sense to me, but I was kind of, I think there was a lack of empathy about the communication about this, right? Like the communication should have been clearer, that the terms of service wasn't enough. These folks should have been let know. But at the same time, I kind of was like, this is constantly going on. How is this different than A/B testing a headline or an email subject line, which goes on constantly?
Exactly. And every marketer out there, every entertainment, every politician and political campaign does the same thing, but it's kind of a techno panic thing again. Right? Facebook was tone deaf in the communication. You are absolutely right about that. They got kind of caught rather than being open about this. And there have been experiments in the past. I remember that Yahoo had a great lab that was A/B testing behavioral impact on people. I'm not against that in theory. But when it hurts your business because of the way it's discovered, then that's just stupid. And I think Sheryl Sandberg has basically said that they certainly had a communications problem on this.
Well, I think this is slightly different than your average garden variety techno-panic. And I'm always with you on the techno-panic argument, Jeff, that you make. But in this case, actually making people sad on purpose, that's an exaggeration. They didn't make that many people that sad.
No, but Mike, that's what every chick flick does.
Yeah, but people know it. I think a big part of this story that's interesting is the degree to which people are not aware that that algorithm, noise filtering goes on. But let's talk about the techno-panic aspect of it. Let's say they discovered, which in fact they did, they came to the conclusion, that one of the conclusions of the paper that was published around this, is that in fact, mood is contagious. If they can tweak your news feed to be happier or sadder, you tend to post things that are happier or sadder. There's some question about whether it's good science, whether that's a legitimate conclusion, but that was their conclusion. So let's say that's true, and let's say they did conclude that, and that's the conclusion. So maybe Facebook wants to make your news feed a happy place. Maybe they decide that as a matter of policy, because nobody knows. This is the part that kind of bothers me. Nobody knows what their algorithms are. They even got rid of the name. It's sort of like in the Soviet Union when they used to erase people from the photographs. Too many people were throwing around the E word, EdgeRank. So they basically said, well, now it's not called EdgeRank anymore. It doesn't have a name. So now we can't really talk about it all that clearly. But they do have secret algorithms that nobody is aware of. They're changing constantly. They're testing them constantly. What if Facebook or some other social network decided to deliberately improve the service, right, by making it everybody happy? Jeff, is that a techno-panic reaction as well?
Well, no. I'll play. Being an old tabloid guy, I'll play into this and panic you more. There was a hedge fund, and I wrote about this in Public Parts. a computer scientist at the University of Indiana tracked 6 moods and their opposites with various keywords and found that he could predict the daily ups and downs in the Dow Jones with more than 90% accuracy. So guess what happened? The hedge fund hired his butt, and they created a new hedge fund based on this. Now, the next step, I said at the time, the next step behind this is, of course, you'll try to manipulate the mood of the country because you're going to arbitrage that mood. And if you read the wonderful Michael Lewis book, Flash Boys, which I do recommend, it's phenomenal, it's not beyond Wall Street and marketers to do exactly that and to profit from it, to affect the mood of the country for a reason or another. So, yeah, that's possible to be there. But at some point, there are Kashmir Hills in the world. And at some point, the truth will out and we'll figure it out. This reminds me of going back to the early days of television advertising. And I'm old enough to have been around almost then, when the panic of the time was that there was subliminal advertising and that things were shot at us in the screen and would convince us, buy deodorant, you stink. And you start to believe it. Well, it was never really true. If we really believe that we are, as a people, such sheeples that a Facebook newsfeed could affect truly our entire mood and thus the country, then we got bigger problems, I think. Gina?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard because I feel like a lot of my friends would be really upset about me saying this right now, but because a lot of my friends, particularly in community management, were really upset about the fact that Facebook did not communicate this and that they were overusing their power. This is a power relationship and manipulating emotions is unethical. But I mean, if Facebook tweaks their newsfeed to make people happier when they use Facebook, how is that different than anybody building any product who's trying to create a better user experience, right? I mean, think about any sort of experience you have with a product. Of course, the maker is trying to make people feel happy or compelled to do any. I mean, advertising it manipulates our emotions. Music and movies manipulates our emotions. I mean, I think we know that. So this felt like, and also this finding that emotions are contagious. I mean, is this news really? I mean, we're empathetic beings. I mean, do we need a study on Facebook to find out that if you guys are sad, I'm also going to feel sad, or if you're joyous and happy and upbeat, that's not going to be a little contagious. I mean, it just didn't seem like news to me.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like, I don't know. What do you think, Mike? You seem a little more critical about this than
the reason I'm critical for 2 reasons. The first reason is they don't make a super easy way for you to just turn it off. Google doesn't either. With Google, you can do noise filtering. You can choose a little bit or a lot, but you can't say, give me everything. I want the ability to just throw a switch that's right there, and everybody knows about that switch, where I just say, give me the fire hose. And then maybe I can decide for myself, it's too much. I want some noise filtering. I want some help. Of course, Facebook does now allow you to granular control of, I want more of this, less of this. I don't want to hear from this person, whatever. That exists for power users. But for the most part, this whole algorithm thing, you mentioned that, lots of things make us happy or sad. Stories make us happy or sad. I think we go to stories to feel happy or sad on purpose, whereas noise filtering is based on an assumption of ignorance by the public. Facebook knows that we want to believe that everyone that follows us will see everything we post, and we want to believe that everything that comes to us in our newsfeed is everything that we post. That's
a whole other business issue where, of course, Facebook is charging for access, and you don't know what it's going to unless you pay them, which is a whole issue. But on the other hand, at Google Plus, they don't do the charging thing, but of course, no one sees, no one of your millions of followers see everything that you write. That they have an algorithm that indeed tries to improve the service. I know it is. Yes, they're robbed. Every one of them robbed. I tell you.
Yeah, and it's the same solution that I would give to half the problems that we talk about on these shows when we're complaining about companies. I want transparency and control. That's what I want. I don't want a complete absence of transparency, and I don't want the removal of control. And that's essentially more or less what we've got right now. And I think that it's one thing to do noise filtering and just, okay, we trust Facebook to determine what our relationships are. Essentially, that's what they're doing. They're basically saying, you know what, you never like anything on Aunt Mildred's page. You never comment there. Therefore, you're not going to see anything from Aunt Mildred anymore. And we're severing that relationship. And think that you still have that relationship and then just somebody's being quiet or they're out of sight, out of mind or whatever, but they're determining your relationships. That's the difference
But
between...
that's a different issue from the happy or sad. There's an algorithm filtering at all, and you're objecting to that algorithm filtering at all, which means you object, I think, to both Facebook and Google Plus in that sense.
I'm objecting to the lack of They should be really clear about it, because I talk to noobs all the time, and everybody's on Facebook, right? Everybody is on Facebook. That's the social network for everybody, and the vast majority of people I talk to, they're like, really? They do that? They have no idea that there's noise filtering on Facebook. No idea.
Okay.
So what I want is you go to Facebook and there are buttons. Facebook, make me happy.
Yeah,
Facebook, make me thoughtful. Facebook,
right.
make me angry. Make me melancholy. Show me the stuff. I'll either get kittens or I'll get lots of,
Gina, that's what BuzzFeed cats are made for.
Exactly.
It's true. It's true.